G'day, I'm Keppie and welcome to How to Write Songs. In this series of videos, I'm going to walk you step by step through the fundamental principles of music theory and show you how with just a little bit of theory, you can do amazing things with your songs. In this video, we're going to talk about the basic units of measurement in Western music and how those units of measurements make up the major chord, the minor chord, and the diminished chord, which are really the only chords that occur when we're writing songs in a key. So let's dive right in. Our first basic unit of measurement in Western music is what we call the semitone. So let's look at the keyboard here. The semitone interval, an interval is a fancy word that means the distance between two notes. The semitone interval exists between notes that are directly next to each other. So this is a semitone, this is a semitone, and this is a semitone. Any two notes that are right next to each other are what's called a semitone interval apart. So that is our first basic unit of measurement. There's one more basic unit of measurement, which is really two semitones. And when we talk about notes being two semitones apart, we call that a whole tone. So this is a whole tone, this is a whole tone, and this is a whole tone. So understanding that those two things, the semitone and the whole tone, are the basic units of measurement in Western music allows us to understand all the distances between notes in terms of semitones. So we can also call the whole tone a second. And in music theory, we call this distance of two semitones a second. That's what the interval name is. Let's add a semitone onto that. This interval that is constructed of three semitones is called a minor third. Minor third. So this is a minor third. This is also a minor third. Let's make a minor third from G by counting three semitones. 1, 2, 3. That is a minor third. So we can find a minor third anywhere in the scale by simply starting from the note at the bottom of the interval and counting three semitones up. Now, we're actually only going to do one more interval by adding another semitone onto the top of our minor third. And now we have what's called a major third. The major third equals 4 semitones. So let's count those here on the keyboard. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 semitones gives us a major third. Let's now find a major third elsewhere in the key. For example, let's start from E and find a major third above E. So I'm going to count 4 semitones. 1, 2, 3, 4. That is a major third above E. Anywhere on the keyboard where I'm playing notes that are 4 semitones apart, I am playing a major third interval. So we're actually going to stop there with our intervals because the chords that we're going to look at are constructed only of minor thirds and major thirds. There are, of course, other intervals. We could talk about this interval, we could talk about this interval, and really understand them mathematically as simply being a certain number of semitones or whole tones apart. But for our purposes to understand the chords that we want to understand, we're only going to look at minor thirds and major thirds. So let's dive into our first chord type, the major triad. So triad is just a fancy name for a 3-note chord. Let's look at the major triad starting at C. This is a C major triad. What's more interesting, actually, is the mathematics beneath this. What makes this a C major triad is that I have a major third plus a minor third, or if I want to use semitones to really understand it, I can say that this is 4 plus 3 semitones. Let's count that, okay? So starting from C, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 semitones, and then I have another 1, 2, 3. It's 4 plus 3. That is the architecture of the major triad. Now that I understand the architecture of the major triad, I can apply that to any major chord I want to find. So let's find an F major triad by counting 4 plus 3, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. That is an F major triad. Let's start from a black key. Let's start from E flat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. That is an E flat major triad. Let's now look at the minor triad. So we'll start again at C and make a C minor triad. Any minor triad is made up of 3 plus 4 semitones. So this is a C minor triad. Let's count the semitones in this C minor triad. I've got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. 3 plus 4 semitones gives me a minor triad. Just like the major chord, now that I understand the mathematics that make a minor triad, I can apply that to find any minor chord that I want. So let's find an E minor triad by counting 3 plus 4. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. That is an E minor triad. The last chord type I want to show you is the diminished triad, that funky little chord you might have heard of and thought, what is that and why do I care and how am I going to use it? So the reason we're going to look at the diminished triad is because in the next video, I'm going to walk you through the chords that are diatonic to the major key, which is to say the chords that belong together inside any major key. And it turns out all we have are major triads, minor triads, and one diminished chord. So we need to know something about this diminished chord. So it turns out that the mathematics of a diminished chord is 3 plus 3. So let's make a C diminished chord. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That is a C diminished chord. Let's make a couple of other diminished chords to make sure that we understand the sound and the architecture of the diminished triad. Let's make an F diminished triad. So I'm going to count 3, 1, 2, 3, and another 3. 1, 2, 3. That is an F diminished triad. So those are our 3 basic chord types that exist diatonically to any major key. And in the next video in this series, we're going to look at the chords in the major key and I'm going to show you how to find the chords in any key.